What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video at JDH Aquatics. Today, from the title of the video, you guys know that we're going to be making a DIY kit to hang our light over one of our fish tanks today. And this kit cost me a total of $24 so far. I haven't put it together yet, but we're going to do it throughout the video and see if it works. I'm pretty sure it's going to stay under that $25 mark. If you go online and you check out any other hanging kit for like a Radion, they're about 50, 60 bucks. You can get as low as maybe like $35, but I got this for 24 bucks. Kind of pieced it together from some of the parts at Home Depot. And the tank it's gonna be going over is our 6-gallon mangrove tank. And the mangroves have gotten to a point, it's not the height that I'm worried about. The light that I have over it is able to go up probably another 2 feet, but it's not powerful enough. So we've got our new Psych K7 Pro V3. This is a 120 watt fixture, and we're not going to use it at full intensity. I think we're going to do it at about maybe 30% and see kind of where that's at. But we plan on moving the 6-gallon back to this stand here. This is where it originally was when I first moved into this apartment. So we're going to put it back next to the 30-gallon, and it's going to be hanging from the ceiling like right about here. So hopefully there's not too much spillage into the 30-gallon, but again, we're not going to have it that bright, but we'll be able to fully adjust the spectrum on this light instead of having just like the 3 modes that are on that light. So a lot of explanation. We're going to jump into it and see how it goes. Now, for the parts we picked up at Home Depot, we've got some, if it's going to focus, we've got some uncoated rope wire that is probably going to rust over time, but it was 12 bucks. And then we also have some of these clamps, which is going to allow us to make some loops. And through those loops, we've got these eye bolts here that should fit through the mount that's already kind of on the light. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And then on the back of those, we're just gonna put some washers. So all this was 24 bucks. So this is the light that has the arm mount already on it. This is the part that we're going to be using. We need to take off these 2 screws down here, which is going to allow us to use this top plate. And then we're going to keep the same screw which holds in the light to this plate. We're just going to have to center it. And then what we plan on doing is putting in those eye bolts through the bottom here with the screws and the washers on the bottom. And then we'll have a loop up here attached to the wire that goes up. So that's the plan. I'm going to try and construct it, but I'll show you guys step by step. All right, so we've got it kind of mocked up. We've got the plate on the top there. We did add a washer just to add a little bit more security. And then I got to hold it because they do slip through, but we've got these 2 loop bolts, or I forget what they're called, eye bolts, something like that. And then of course the washers and the screws on the bottom. I probably could have done lock nuts on the bottom, but there's not going to be any vibration, so these shouldn't come off. But then we're basically going to create some loops with the wire to go through these eye bolts here, and it's just going to hang from the ceiling like that. It's pretty even, not at this angle, but should sit even like that. It's just weird on camera, but yeah, it'll sit like that. We've got the first wire loop made and crimped down the little clamp there, so we're going to do it to the other side. This should be enough to hold it up, and I think we got it centered. We also have our ladder over there. We're going to move this stand here in a second to get some real measurements, but I think we're going to have it about a foot over the mangroves, and over time, if we need to, we can essentially just move it up. But yeah, this is kind of what we got going on. We got both sides done and hung up on our wire rope. It's actually day 2 of us attempting to do this. I had some screws that were going to go into the ceiling that were basically going to be like the anchor for this light. Did not work. They pulled right out of the drywall. So all day today, I've been researching the best ways to mount into drywall if you don't have a stud, or I think it's, what is it called? I forget what it's called, but they're different if it's on the ceiling. But basically what we got today, where are they? What we got today are these ceiling hooks, I guess you could say. Now this is option 1. I have doubts with this one. I don't know if it's going to work. It says it's rated for up to 35 pounds and this light weighs maybe 3 or 4 pounds at most, so it shouldn't have that much weight going on it. It's more of it staying in the drywall. So they've got little drywall anchors, which if you do any research on trying to mount stuff in drywall, people say the anchors are like the worst way to go. You're supposed to get like the little T that splits off into the drywall, so it has something to like sit on, if that makes any sense. We're gonna try this out, and we have to pilot a 5/16 inch hole, and if this doesn't work, then we're gonna go back to the store and buy like the correct anchor, and the hole will already be drilled. So we're gonna try this out. It was $4, so tacked on to the 24, we're at about $28 instead of 24. So we're gonna try it out. All right, we've got the hooks put into the ceiling, and actually they were holding up well enough. We just went ahead and put the light on to really see if it would hold, and it does so far. So I think the hooks with the anchors was a good way to go. It was only $4, and it seems pretty sturdy. If we pan down here, we've got the light all hung up, and we actually did just stop at the store one last time to pick up this cord cover. This is kind of like a molding that's going to hide this cord. So that's not part of the kit, so I don't really want to include it in the price, but that was $9. So I guess if you do want to add it, we're at about $37. But the kit alone, we're at about $28. So we're gonna get that all cleaned up and mounted up, and then we are going to move the Pico 6-gallon over to this stand tonight. So we're gonna get the whole shot today and see really what it looks like. The only thing I'm concerned about is the height on this isn't really that adjustable. It is. We would have to basically cut the loop, make a new loop, and then that'll raise it. But in terms of hiding the cord, it's pretty much one height. So the more we raise it, the more cord is going to show, if that makes sense. So that's the only thing I'm kind of concerned about. We've got it at about, I think like 5 or 6 inches higher than the mangroves are right now. I hope it's a little bit higher, but from my measurements, I think we're at about 5 inches from the light to like the tip of the mangrove. So if it does grow anymore, then we have to raise it already. But we're gonna just kind of mock it up, and then in the future, we'll figure it out as time goes on. So just getting some more shots here. This is kind of what the final product looks like, at least for the hanging light kit and then the tucked wire. It doesn't look the worst. It doesn't look the best either. I think there's some changes we could have done to make this a little bit nicer looking and easier in the future to adjust it. I would have loved to add in some like yo-yo brackets, I guess, up there, which would allow us to change the height on the light. But as for hiding the cord and all of that, this is the best we got right now. I think in the next 30 minutes or so, we're gonna start breaking down the 6-gallon, or at least draining it a little bit to carry it over to the stand. But I'm really excited to see what this is gonna look like. I think it's gonna look pretty sweet. And we're on to day 3 to finally wrap it up. As you guys can see, everything is pretty much set up how I want it to in its final stage. Third time's a charm. The first day, we tried to basically just construct the mount, I guess, for the light. Day 2 was figuring out how to hang it from the ceiling. We also did move over the tank, but I didn't show you guys it yesterday. But we did move it yesterday, and then today, this is gonna be a whole separate video, but we also did move the 12-gallon off camera, and we staged the 20-gallon with a new light that was sent to us from NICRU. So that's gonna be, like I said, a different video, but I'm really happy with how everything turned out. The molding that's hiding this cord right here is scratched. So if I were to change anything, I'd probably change that. I think it's like a $9 piece, so I might just go back to Home Depot and find another one that's not scuffed, because the fact that it's scuffed, it completely defeats the purpose of trying to hide the cord. So I think the mangroves are going to appreciate the brighter light. I have it set at about 50% intensity for the white and the red channel, and then 15% for the blue and the green. And I only added the blue in there just to make it somewhat cohesive with the tanks next to them, but I don't think the blue light's necessary, but we did add in some green as well. If we need to raise the intensity over time, we can. They're about 8 to 10 inches above the highest mangrove. So I think the intensity is okay. If it starts to look like it's burning the leaves, then we'll lower it, but I think they should be fine. I do really like these two tanks next to each other. This is how I had it when I first moved into the apartment. I had this stand. This stand has never moved. It's always been here, but I had a plant on it for like the last 2 or 3 months. And we put back the 6 gallon, and I think it looks just a little bit better having them next to each other, especially with the greenery of the mangroves, and then, you know, the really colorful 30 gallon. I think it looks the best. And it's funny because this is how everything was set up when we first moved in here. I had the 20 gallon set up with the 30 and the 6, and then we ended up adding the 12 gallon down below, put it on its own stand, and then ended up breaking down the 20 gallon, and we pretty much went full circle back to where we started. So I feel like sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error to figure out exactly what you want set up and how you're going to do it. I think this is the best way to do it for the space that we have, and I'm really excited to see, you know, how everything grows in. I do want to get some more mangrove pods for this setup now that we have more light. We may need to work on the nutrients next and figure out how to get these mangroves a little bit more nutrients. And lastly, if you guys do want to see the 20 gallon setup, then be sure to follow along. If you guys aren't following me on my other platforms like Instagram and TikTok, I post there a lot more often. I do post shorts every day as well, but this longer form content, it takes a while for me to get a video out. But again, if you guys want to see this tank setup and the progress over time, I am doing like a beginner series on this tank. So if you're a beginner and you want to see a basic 20 gallon setup, then be sure to follow along. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. You can also send me a direct message on TikTok or Instagram. But with all that being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.